Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all this morning, and welcome to all visitors joining us for Mass. This is a beautiful celebration of the ascension of our Lord into heaven, where he now reigns, body and soul, at the right hand of the Father over the entire universe, Lord of heaven and earth. And so what a beautiful celebration. Just permit me, if you will, to just give you a snapshot, a spring update, as you may say, for our parish. So if you could just pick up your handout that you received when you were coming in. Just to give you we did this last spring as well, just to kind of give you an update in the spring of how we are doing here at St. Mary. And so when you open it up in the top left corner, you see that statement, who we are. And this flows really from the amazing parish leadership model that I have incorporated for leading the parish with the parish leadership team. And one of the things as we were discerning the direction for the parish, the coaches at Amazing Parish lead us through really discernment in 4 key questions, which is these 4 boxes. Why do we exist? How do we behave? What do we do? And how will we succeed? And so from that, we really answer the question of who are we and why are we here at St. Mary's in Derby, Kansas? It's really our identity. And so this is why you see now the display out in the gathering space, because we want to again continue to strengthen the banks of the river as we're focusing our efforts in this area of our identity. How do we behave as our core values? How will we succeed are our strategic anchors. And so the goal ultimately is we're here to form and make disciples. This is the commission that Jesus gives us right before he ascends into heaven. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. And so we exist to help people become disciples of Jesus. That's why we're here in Derby, Kansas. We had the Rescue Project, this beautiful spiritual renewal opportunity in our parish. We had 250 parishioners attend that. And from that, one of the takeaways, or one of the additional efforts, or I should say, to help us grow as disciples is just a practical class on prayer, getting practical with prayer that Father Luke and I will teach for 3 Sundays in a row, starting with Sunday, May 31st, and then June 7th and June 14th. So just an opportunity for everyone. It's for the whole parish in continuing to grow in our faith and prayer and as becoming disciples. Now, a year ago, last May, I gave you kind of the State of the Unions of where we were, and this is that bottom left parish goals update. So a year ago, we were, for last fiscal year, at this time, we were in the hole. We were at a deficit of $64,000. And so that was one of the big reasons why I was coming to you, because we really had to kind of put a rally cry together. We had to come together to really help us, and we did that. Thanks be to God, all of you came together. And I'm going to shift over to the top right on page 3. You see the fiscal year ending on June 30 of 25. You see that the surplus or deficit, that was $110,000. So we ended up, instead of in the negative, we ended in the positive by a good amount. And so thank you for your stewardship of coming together at this point last year. That was a tremendous effort on all of our parts here to make that happen. A second goal that I mentioned to you at this time last year was to enhance campus safety, and I'll speak on that a little bit more here in just a moment. A third a goal that I brought up to you at this time last year was to extend our parish office staff just a bit, and I'll bring that up as well to you in just a moment. And then the last thing that I mentioned to you last year at this time was that due to our finances, we were not able to give raises to any of our staff. Whether it be the church or the school, we just were not able to give raises. And thanks be to God, that has changed. We just this week have given raises to all of our staff, again, thanks to the stewardship of all of you. So it's just good things are happening here in our parish. Now, speaking of our parish and our finances, at the top of page 3 there you see current finances. And you can see that the finances just go to March 31st. This is the finances that we have. We outsource our finances, or rather our accounting, to Profit Builders, which is an accounting firm in Wichita, and they do the finances, or rather the accounting again, of a number of the parishes in our diocese. And so we haven't gotten the April numbers yet. They should probably be here by Monday, but it's usually the middle of the next month. But as you can see, as the end of March, we're 38,000 in the plus, which is a lot better than 64,000 in the hole like last year. So we are doing good things here. Things are going well. And yet, it is the fourth quarter. Like any good football game, it's the fourth quarter, it's crunch time, right? April, May, and June, that's the fourth quarter for our fiscal year. And so this is why I want to, again, just bring awareness to you that we can't let up on the gas pedal. We're doing good things, but please continue to share that gift of your time, talent, and treasure. It's the only way that we can make this happen. You can see the two previous fiscal years. 2 years ago, we ended in June 30th, 17,000 as a deficit. Last year, 110,000 in the positive, which was, again, an amazing rally. And that little did you know box, our diocese is the only diocese in the country that is a complete stewardship way of life diocese, which means every parish in our diocese, particularly if they have a school, is all stewardship based. From kindergarten to 12th grade, our parishioners have the ability to receive a Catholic education by stewardship and not by tuition. That's incredible. There's just no other diocese that is like that. And it means, what it does mean is that for it to be to happen, for it to be possible, for it to be sustainable, we all have a part to play. It means all of us come together to keep and support our school as well as the education all the way to 12th grade in our diocese. So a tremendous lift, you could say, a tremendous effort on the part of all of us here at St. Mary and our diocese. But a beautiful effort at that. And so again, it's the fourth quarter, like any good football game. We don't want to let up. It is crunch time. Now, going into speaking of the diocese, you see the second half, you see the Diocesan Capital Campaign update. If you remember, we were in the first wave of the Diocesan Capital Campaign. And so these numbers, we obviously have a little bit more than maybe some parishes already having been received. You see there that $2.47 million was pledged by our parish for the Diocese Capital Campaign. To date, we have given, as a parish, $1.59 million. So 2.47 was pledged, 1.59 has been given thus far in our 3-year pledge. One of the key components of the Diocese Capital Campaign was a teacher salary enhancement endowment. The diocese wanted to start endowments in every parish that has a school for the sole purpose of helping over the long run to help assist in giving teachers just and good wages. And so it's been allocated for our parish, $305,000 total will eventually get to us. Right now, we've received $133,000 in a special endowment set aside for St. Mary's teachers' salary endowments. Now, our teacher salary enhancements. And so this is a long term. This isn't a short term. We can only use the interest that's gained on that. But again, one of the fruits of the Diocesan Capital Campaign. Now, the one that applies even more to us is that section right below it. If you remember, another component of the Diocese Capital Campaign was a 20% parish share. 20% of what was raised by the parish would come back to the parish and be used in whatever form or fashion we so desired. And we chose that would come back to the building fund, which is for our final church. And if we hold to our pledge, what's been pledged, $629,000 will come back to our building fund, which is, again, 20% of our total funds raised, and then a little bit more than that once we hit our mark. As of right now, we've received $320,000 from the diocese campaign for the building fund. And now to the building fund, if you wanted to know the current balance, this line right below, 1.3 million, is actually already out of date. We actually received the latest installment from the Diocese Capital Campaign, and then we received a substantial memorial from a family for the building fund. With both of these combined, and a few others, is $142,000 that's not yet in here. So our current to date balance for the building fund, for our final church, is $1.45 million. So that's an incredibly good start to the final church. If you turn the page to the back, you'll remember, again, I pointed out, or I made a note, last spring, this time, one of our goals was to enhance campus safety. And I shared with you that our goal was to provide a surveillance system 360 degrees around our campus, and we did that in the summer. Another goal was to provide a fob or keyless entry system for the school, which would greatly allow us to know and monitor who's entering and exiting the school. And so we did that as well in the summer. And then there was the shooting at Assumption Parish in Minnesota. And Bishop Kimmy asked all of us pastors to redouble our efforts in providing safety and security for our parishes. And so we immediately went to locking the church doors for school masses. And we immediately formed, or I asked to form a security and safety task force here in the parish, which is composed, and still is, composed of first responders, firefighters, law enforcement officers, a medical professional, which is a nurse, a school parent, the school principal, Mr. Corby, and then myself. And we set to work and asking ourselves really the question of where do we have gaps and how could we be more and more prepared for three major things. One, active threats. Secondly, medical emergencies. And three, weather-related emergencies. And so from that, we have three major initiatives that have already really begun to take place. First of all, we recognize that we didn't really have adequate first aid supplies in the building. And so we have now first aid kits, as well as an automated external defibrillator and AED, both in the gathering space now, as well as by the Knights Hall entry doors, because so much happens in our parish right at the Knights Hall. And if that's the only location, that would be a long ways to get to those. So we now have two locations for these much needed things if a health emergency would arise. Secondly, we're almost finished, but we are developing an adoration chapel, a safety process and procedure for those in that ministry, beautiful time spending with the Lord in adoration. Again, to not only have a way to address if an emergency were to arise or a potential threat, so that adorers would know how to address that. Lastly, and this just took effect this weekend, is the development and introduction of a safety usher. The safety usher really isn't an usher. They're a person, and it's actually a first responder from our parish who is in plain street clothes, who is solely responsible for just awareness and having eyes on the campus. They're checking all of the doors. The only doors we leave unlocked right now are the front doors. After Mass begins, the back doors are locked. We realized that was a very vulnerable place for our parish. And so they're checking the doors. They're checking the parking lots. They're watching and just having eyes on our in a very intentional way. They're also the point person to assist our ushers. They're the point person for a medical emergency or even, again, a weather-related emergency. And so the safety usher is really a volunteer who is now helping us to be actively watching our campus, especially during weekend masses. The next thing, or one of the goals again brought up last year, now coming to fruition this year, is the expansion of parish staff. One of the positions is the parish finance coordinator. Kathy Barker stepped into this role July 1st, and it has been an incredible help to our parish, and especially to me and the Finance Council. It's just a part-time, as-needed basis position, but this helps to provide support and oversight for our parish finances. Kathy really is helpful for myself and the parish council, the Finance Council, for providing financial reports, really leading the charge with the annual budget development, as well as working with the finances on a diocesan level. And she supports the accounting clerk in the school, which would be Gina Stevens. And so it's been an incredibly helpful support position. And then, as you know, we're now in the hiring process for the director, this new position the Director of Parish Life and Evangelization. I'm sure you have noticed, we have noticed, the increase of people coming to Mass. We are seeing now on a weekly basis people asking about joining the church, the Catholic Church. They're seeking, they're searching. It's a beautiful thing, and so we're trying to be able to just meet them at where they're at and provide for their needs. We have people coming back to the church who have been away, people wanting the sacraments, not to mention just new families coming to the parish. You look at all the development going around Derby, I don't know where we're going. I mean, really, Derby as a whole, it's going to be interesting to see where our community and how it grows and just so quickly. So we are seeing the needs and wanting to address those needs. So this position will be addressing three major areas. First, providing new parishioner and new member support and accompaniment to help people get plugged in or find how they can be a part of St. Mary. Secondly, to advance adult faith formation efforts. One of the things, especially with OCIA and people looking, seeking, and searching for the church, it's really not just here in Derby. This is a nationwide. This is the church globally. We're seeing an influx of people seeking and searching for God. Beautiful thing. How can we meet them? And also other ways in which we can help our adults become more really the disciples Jesus is calling us to be. And then lastly, development and implementation of evangelization and outreach efforts. Again, reaching those who are open or seeking the Lord, who are looking for a place to call home with their relationship with God. So we're excited. There's a lot of good things happening in our parish. And lastly, you'll see at the bottom there the parish office hours update. Starting June 1st, we're going to shift the office hours to opening an hour earlier. Everything will just shift an hour earlier. And it's a twofold reason. First, we've been tracking the foot traffic. We've been just monitoring for a couple months on what it looks like from 4 to 5 regarding phone calls and people actually coming into the office. And it's been relatively low. But what we've also been noticing, or it's become apparent, is that anyone who works from 8 to 5 has to take off work to come to the office in our current hours, or they go over their lunch break and hope they make it. And so the goal is that if we shift it to 7:30, we can help people come to the office before they have to go to work. Or as they're dropping children off at school, they can stop in, they can get what they need, and it'll be hopefully more convenient for them. And so this is hopefully going to be very helpful for our parents, especially who just are on such a time crunch, and time is really a premium. And so we think it'll be helpful for our staff, but also we hope it'll be, and we think it'll be really helpful for meeting people, especially those who are on such a time crunch for work. So with all this, I just thank you for your time. Thank you for your stewardship. Thank you for your prayer. It's a beautiful thing to watch as God is working in our parish. So let us continue again. It's fourth quarter. It's fourth quarter. It's crunch time. We don't want to let up on the gas. And so let's continue this beautiful work, all these efforts that we're seeing here in our parish.